it going, history fans? My name is Easton.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're so happy to have y'all back for another episode of Prairie's newest one and only podcast, Beyond the Revolution.
Awesome. And we are joined by, the first time we're joined by someone who's familiar with, familiar with being behind the mic. Mm-hmm. We have Casey and Reagan from Indiana Historical Society. Do you guys want to tell them about what podcast you guys do and sort of, I'm just curious how it got started and what it looks like.
You're our first collab.
Exciting. You're ours too.
Yeah, truly, yeah. So this is Casey. We are the hosts of Unbound, a collection of Indiana stories. And so Unbound is our compilation of stories that have been published by the IHS. So we have had a press almost since the 1980, I think. So several decades of publications under our belts. So we take some of the stories that might have been forgotten about or might have been sitting on a shelf for a while, and we kind of rehash those and give them a modern interpretation. We give our opinions on them, try to look at things through a new historical lens, things like that.
Yep. We also use any sort of written material or otherwise, right, that we have resources at work. So collection guides, blogs, books. Have we done a book yet?
We've done chapters from books.
Things like that, yeah. So while we mainly do our publications, we kind of do some other things too.
Yeah.
So no two episodes are the same?
Not yet.
Not really.
No.
They'll have some episodes will have similar thematic ties, but nothing we haven't done the same story yet.
No. No, not the same story or even really the same topic. Maybe sort of similar, but we try to keep it fresh. And luckily, we have so much to choose from in terms of publications that we can keep it real interesting.
How do you guys choose? Is it just what interests you? Do you look at IHS's calendar and what makes sense with, an upcoming exhibition or...
Yes.
All of
the above.
Yeah.
So we'll look at the exhibit calendar. We'll look at events that are coming up, and this is a way for us to add on to things that can't always be included in an exhibit. Or if we know that we want to cover a topic and maybe we don't have time to do a program about the topic, we can push it into a season of the podcast. And obviously, personal preference, definitely.
It's hard to not talk about something that you're not interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It happens.
It does. It does happen sometimes. And that's a testament to us wanting to cover everything. Yeah. We don't shy away from some of the more difficult topics. Obviously, lighter topics are also fun.
Yeah. But Casey and I are neither of us are really sports people, so we've done a basketball episode that was kind of hard for both of us.
Yeah.
Because we don't really know what's happening. We know it's important to Indiana, but we don't
know what's going on.
Yeah, we're not that involved in the details, so trying to understand that sometimes was tricky.
Yeah.
A lot of times it depends on the season. One season will be very strict to an exhibit schedule or something, and then some seasons we're what sounds fun,
Our last season was really heavy. Mm-hmm. It was Vietnam War and
Korean War. Too, right? Didn't we do Korean War?
That was a couple seasons back. Oh. We did we did World War II. Because we did the USS Indianapolis.
And that story's rough.
Rough.
On its own, yeah.
Rough on its own, yeah.
We did true crime.
We did a true crime episode.
Oh,
yeah.
I think we did something with... Didn't we do something with an assassination, too? Or an assassination attempt?
I can't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, last season, really heavy.
Yeah.
This season, much less heavy.
Yeah. We were let's have fun.
Let's have fun.
There's a couple episodes this season that Casey and I are kind of our picks, so to speak.
Yeah.
He found an article about a boat, about boats, and he's I want to do boats. And so then we had to find a second piece about boats for me.
Oh, so do you try and keep it thematically related within an episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, we'll find two topics that are thematically related on some way, shape, or form, and it doesn't even need to be within a thematic time period. Although sometimes that is the case, with our one of our more recent episodes was focused on the Northwest Territory, so both episodes are from kind of that general time period.
Yeah. And I wanted to do this season. There was an article I found about an extinct prairie chicken, which,
Well,
see
no,
what I mean?
Indiana's
It's
extinct,
exciting.
yeah.
I had no idea there was a prairie chicken or that
No,
it was
same.
extinct. So I'm like, Casey, I want to do this. So find an article that excites you maybe a little bit about an animal
Yeah.
so that we can do an animal episode.
Which is
So-
funny because then like sometimes for us we'll pick things kind of blind almost, like if we see a title and like read it kind of, we'll be like, oh perfect, that'll match well, and then like once we actually get to actually reading the work, we're like, this won't work. And I need to find something different.
Yep. Yep. No, exactly. And we keep like a really long master list of all articles that we found or blogs or, whatever. So we can always go back and kind of pick through.
Yeah.
But we look through physical copies and,
Yeah.
online copies every season, start of
Yeah.
every season. We're about to start planning our next season. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is coming up. Yeah.
Well, congrats, y'all.
Thank
Thank
you.
It's
you.
good stuff from what I've heard.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Really cool stuff.
Thank you.
I find sometimes it's really fun to be. I like the open-endedness of your guys' podcast, but also it's really fun to hear that you also. My favorite thing is to work in a sandbox where I have to creatively think of something that fits this like whole. And you guys also have that, it seems, to fit with the other story. It's also interesting that you say you're switching to lighter. We're gonna do a joy corner. We've already warned you about that one. But that was our response to. We did a whole season that was we talked about African American experience in Indiana, and a lot of those episodes got very serious.
Yeah.
And we didn't really get a chance to get to know our guests because we're a very guest-centric podcast. And so Easton came up with the Joy Corner to kind of solve that, where we did get, a moment of brevity. Also get to know our guests more, which was great.
We all needed a break.
Yeah.
That's fair.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so
fair.
we've just kept it because it's a fun thing.
Yeah.
And it's convenient to do cuts. So
Yes. Yes.
yes. So a little background on why we are inviting IHS over. So we both put in for this Making History, Making Change program with the Smithsonian. It's a part of their America 250 initiative, and we're the only two Smithsonian affiliates in the state. So we're like, hey, let's partner with this.
Yeah.
So we're not at least competing, because museums like to work with each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And it was funny trying to figure out. It was kind of that creative problem solving of like, how do we, because we're doing dramatically different things for America 250, and we'll get into a little bit what IHS is doing, to figure out like, if we're putting in for one speaker, what should they talk about that overlaps both of our things. And it ended up being they gave you guys two speakers, they gave us a speaker.
Yeah.
Our speaker will be on our next episode, curator from the Smithsonian Folklife and Cultural Heritage Center, Michelle Banks. And we decided to just like, hey, let's still try and pair them together. And so that conversation will be talking about the language and the storytelling that we do now and how that's going to impact the future. And then since you guys, your whole podcast is about history, and specifically Indiana history, which is very, much more impactful at the local level on us, why history is important, how it impacts us. And when I was thinking about it, there's also another layer on top of it that's really interesting. And so we can maybe talk about the meta commentary of podcasts a little bit, where the event you guys did related to Making History, Making Change was on freedom of the press. Yep. And you guys had an actual like press. And it is really interesting because the press obviously was a huge, it was huge in disseminating information quickly to a lot of people. And whether that be history, whether that be the Declaration itself, which was the premise of that program. But things have changed a lot, and not to trivialize it, but like podcasts have filled a niche that, radio, newspapers, some of these legacy medias don't fill as much anymore. Yeah. And so thinking of the podcast world as a place to, that is disseminating information very rapidly to a lot of people. It's an interesting thing to have in this context of like, well, the revolutionary generation was doing it, but just in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you guys are showing in your program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
And so with that, we're talking about power of language to an extent, but really, we're talking about why history is important. We're talking about how history is impacting today, and I'm curious, going back with the podcast, the fashion in which history stories are told. So I'm curious with you guys, what made you want to start the podcast and tell history stories this way?
Sure. So that was kind of a me thing, and actually it started even before me. So when I was hired on, there was kind of this like, hey, if you were to come in, is a podcast something you'd be interested in doing? And I was like, yeah, 100%. Because actually when I went to grad school, one of the things that I was looking at was history podcasts and like doing that as a form of like public history and connecting with larger communities about topics. So I was really excited to come in and get to kind of build something, and we got to do a lot of experimentation too. So we did we did 2 short-term kind of projects. We did one called How We Do History, because that's like the tagline for IHS is We Do History. And so we go and we talk to a lot of different people in different departments and talk about like, how did you get here and what do you do on a daily basis? And that really like, that kind of like trial and error, thank you, trial and error really helped us to figure out kind of how we wanted to build a long-term podcast, because for us, it was not sustainable to consistently have guests. So I really commend you guys for always having guests, because it's so hard to schedule people.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's
Admittedly, it is a struggle.
Yes,
and that's why
much so.
we've split our roles between producer, where one of us is always like a producer for episode,
Yeah.
where they're the ones in charge of the guests, and the other one's more focusing on editing or story or.
I hate cold calling people or cold emailing people. It's bad.
Yeah.
Well, in just behind the scenes, me and Casey have been talking about potentially collabing for 2
A long
years.
time.
Yeah.
Ever since we found out we both had a podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're like, might as well make it.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well do something together. Yeah. So finally doing it.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and in that original premise of how history gets made, we've had a lot of conversations on this season alone about how history is not this like objective thing. There is choice in what stories are being told. You guys, again, you get to choose which stories you're told, and sometimes that means leaving some stories out, and that is going to be choices that are made consistently over and over again. But also like the work and due diligence it goes into telling these stories too, that these stories are accurate, and even if there is interpretation, and I'm sure making it fun for the podcast mic. But so I mentioned I like your guys' forum because it is so open-ended. So how did you end up on this format of Unbound?
I think how we kind of landed on it was, honestly, it was a lot of logistical things.
Yeah.
Truly, it was like, okay, so we know we don't have time to sit down and do
research.
do a lot of
Yes.
in-depth research because we do 9 episodes a season. We each do 1, so that'd be 9 stories per person.
And we still have our own, our jobs.
Our
own
jobs,
Right.
yeah. Like this is like
This is not our job solely, right? I
yes,
mean,
more or less.
more for him than for me, right? But still, he's managing other
Yeah.
programs and stuff. So
But truly, I like roped Reagan into this.
I was just sitting at my desk one day in the library, and he comes in, and at this point, I knew Casey, but
Yeah.
not like as close as we are now. And he's like, "Hey, you want to co-host a podcast with me?"
Yeah, and it was because you had guest hosted on How We Do History,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, this is a person who
You can-
I know we can talk to each other and
Yeah.
also like be in a room together for 4 hours, and
Yeah.
it will not be a job.
It will go well.
It will go well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because of that, it was like, how do we get information that we know is vetted, that we know has been researched by people who have the experience to do so, and has been like checked over and over and over. And so we looked internally, and luckily we do have a press, like I was saying earlier. And I was like, we have things like that have been published up to, like, again, the early 1980s. And we were printing even more back then. Now it's more so seasonal publications for our history magazine. So we had so much to choose from.
Yeah.
And I don't think we'll, as long as we're here, run out of information. And like, we've been able to be really creative in how sometimes we choose things from our collection. So like, one episode we pulled from 2 different oral histories and walked through these oral histories, which was a really cool experience.
It was great. Yeah, I loved that episode.
Yeah.
We've done collection guides, blogs.
Yeah. The 2 magazines.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So that's kind of how we landed there, because it's really easy to take something that's written academically, and that's part of it too, is we want to take something that's written academically and break it down into a way that's maybe a bit more digestible for the public.
And also, our publications, a lot of them aren't accessible. Like, a lot of them are digitized and online, but they were always intended to be member resources, right? Like mailed out or emailed exclusively to members. And this way, not only can we share stories that maybe people have never heard of, but also in a way that, like, people are not always members, right? And you can listen to the podcast and enjoy the stories and not be a member.
Yeah.
And that being
Right.
said, we still send those publications to members.
We do.
So if you're not a member,
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of our always selling points for having a podcast, is making things more accessible. And also for us, it's always like looking behind the curtain. I don't know if I've ever actually asked you, what was the sort of precipice for This Is Problematic?
Well, we were making Promised Land is Proving Ground, which is our big, well, at the time was our huge new thing. And that's the first ever time that we were going to do Black history at Conner Prairie with a permanent settlement, and we were going to build a new building, and it's all open now. And as we were, of course, doing all this history about like African American history and heritage from pre-colonial Africa all the way up into the present, you're going to find a ton of stuff. And I think Charlene said at one point, or Dr. Fletcher, she lets me call her Charlene, but Dr. Fletcher was like, every time we'd come up with a crazy rabbit hole story, she would just say, or this is problematic, that's problematic. So that's how we came up with the name. And then it was like, we have so many stories that aren't going to make it into this exhibit. Why don't we just make a podcast?
Yeah.
They wanted a podcast. We were just coming off of COVID. So tons of people were not coming back to be around 100 people at a museum.
Right,
and so that seemed like the best course of action, satisfy the people who want the podcast. And also we were trying to hit that demographic of like the teenage, upper teen, early 20 group of people, because we really don't have much, at least at that point, we didn't have much at Conner Prairie for them necessarily. You know, so that was kind of the...
Yeah. And it ended up solving a lot of, like, Promised Land is Proving Ground. It ended up taking longer than was expected, but we had the podcast to kind of like start talking about it. Yeah. And
to tease it.
Yeah. Some of the episodes actually made it into the exhibit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
they
cool.
did.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think like that was, but it was. We did 2 seasons of This Is Problematic and started This Is Reclamation at the time that, by the time Promised Land is Proving Ground actually opened.
Wow. And so this iteration's weird because we're kind of starting fresh.
Well, we have Torn.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about Beyond the Revolution is kind of starting fresh of.
Yeah, but like Torn is like our... Cut this whole thing. Torn is like the new thing.
The first episode of this podcast, we did talk about a lot of the things from Torn. And so, we had we don't have a press. And so for us, it is interesting where we're like, oh, we have to come up with.
Yeah.
And that's why we did end up skewing more towards bringing people in.
Yeah, no, I 100% can see why that would be the case. Like,
We presented at AMM last summer.
Yeah.
And about the podcast. And one of the big questions was, how do you have time to like think of topics and do the things? And it almost felt like we were not cheating, but like had an
More or
easier
less.
way out because somebody had done that heavy lifting already.
Right.
Yeah.
And we realized what a privilege it is to have
That wealth of
that
information.
Yeah, that just bank of you can pluck things from, right? Because doing that on your own would be a job, right? As you know, so
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and even don't sell your guys' self too short because you are making all that
Sure.
accessible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And entertaining in a way, and that's not a bad thing
No.
to spread history.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, and I was going to say to your point too, like Reagan and I are both trained historians. So like we do have the knowledge and skills a little bit under our tool belt to be able to like interpret some of what is in front of us and like, you know, the background to like read someone else's interpretation of something and like intellectually be able to either agree or disagree with that author, which has happened on several occasions.
Or to pinpoint like not a falling short, but maybe a gap.
Yeah.
Or like, I
Especially
wonder
if
what
it's
this
like
fits.
from the 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sometimes forget that we're trained historians because we just get in the podcast studio and kind of just have
Talk,
fun and, you know, hang out more or less, right? So, yeah, it is sometimes I forget that we're professionals doing this, right? And not just friends.
Yeah.
Chatting.
Almost less professional podcasters and just professional historians.
Yeah.
That you put 'em-
Two historians that you put a mic in front of.
Yeah.
And I do think, especially in the context of America 250, it's really important to be getting stories out in this way.
Yeah.
Especially since disinformation is so easily, to come by online. So like, having something that is from a trusted source, kind of the provenance of the story, where it comes from. And even if they are like, I don't agree with your interpretation, they can go back and read the IHS articles.
100%. And we also, like, in our show notes, we also try to include as much from, like, our collection that we can from the digital collection. We'll link to things in the digital collection, whether that be, like, documents or images, for people to see themselves some of that, like, primary source material, too.
Yeah. Almost everything we talk about has primary source material. Some are more obscure, and that's an exciting thing that the articles have, is that they can really focus in on a very niche topic.
Yeah.
Then we don't always have maybe the primary sources to back up the topic, but we have like complementary things, right? Like you can always be like, oh, this is what this place looked like at this time, or to help fill in.
This is a building from the same time period.
Yeah,
this is
around the same area, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I would 100%, and this is a shout out to the audience, if you ever get bored, but like truly, if you are researching something, the amount of things digitized within Indiana Historical Society is amazing. It helps us with all of our research.
Yeah.
There's photos from Indiana Historical Society and all of our exhibits.
Oh, most definitely. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We needed y'all, and y'all came through.
I worked with you, I think, before, Ryan. I was the visual reference librarian for a long time before.
Yes.
So, and I had my maiden name, so I was Reagan Steinmel at the time. But when he was like, "Oh, it's Ryan," and I'm like, "I know that name. I think I worked with Ryan via email before."
Yeah.
So,
and I think I came in a couple of times because
Oh,
you guys
maybe.
even have like Connor Prairie history stuff. We were working on our Prairie Town 50th.
Yeah, this is ringing a bell.
And you guys had this documentary that was made about Connor Prairie back in the 70s. You're like, hey, can we?
That's wild.
use that
I remember
footage?
that. It was on a 16mm reel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we had to get it digitized or something?
We did. And it's
wow.
it's literally our title shot.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's because it is hilarious to go back and watch. It's like it is very it's very nostalgic for history.
Sure.
It's very I think the tagline then was like, history's not so far away, because no one lived up here in Fishers, and so it was trying to get people from Indianapolis to,
Which is
make
to come over here.
drive out to Fishers.
That is such a foreign thought now.
Yeah.
And then
Well.
the funniest thing about
Sorry, I'm not from this
yeah.
area originally, so like long drives for me, I'm like, gosh, that's far away.
I feel that, Casey. I feel that
I'm
100%.
like, that's so far. I'm like, can we have a train? I'll take a train
we
there.
used to.
I know.
Don't get them
I was
started,
right
guys.
next to the Carmel
Interurban stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
rip.
Don't get
I
them
would
started.
have, yeah. But what I was going to say, and probably the cherry on top about that piece that I always laugh is they're turning into Connor Prairie, and the kid asks the dad, "What is Connor Prairie?" And the dad's like, "You'll see." And it's
Who knows?
It's very much
even back then.
Right. We'll
Yeah.
learn together, kid.
and
Come
so
on.
as much as we struggle with trying to explain what we do
Yeah.
at Connor Prairie, it's really funny that it's always
is
been
so
that way.
funny.
It's just like,
No,
yeah, you just have to
truly.
come and
Do
talk.
On
and be
camera.
there, yeah.
So I am curious, before we go any further, what is your guys' technically main job at IHS?
Sure. So I am the manager of engagement, and so that includes both in-person and digital. So I am in charge of the podcast. But outside of that, I am also in charge of mainly adult education and engagement programming. So that audience that you were talking about, that like early professional, college age audience through, everyone else and up is who I kind of focus on. So I do things like workshops and book talks and try to do third space programming for people.
Please, we need more of that. Third
Yeah.
space.
Hey, June 25th, the Junction, 5 to 7:30.
Free pizza.
Well,
this-
Well, not free.
not free.
But there's pizza.
There's
Is this your
pizza.
slice of history?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all also have a space called the Junction?
I guess. No, we named it. It's a program series.
Oh,
less so than a
okay.
physical place.
Because we're about to have a place called the Junction. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Oh,
many.
okay.
There's a lot
So
of
many,
junctions
yeah.
going on.
Well, and like the name is so versatile, right? Like, and we picked that name for that series because, like, hey, it's a cross space, it's a meeting place. So like, come meet your community, come hang out with us. And we wanted to do something that was not going to cost someone like $100 to walk out their front door, right? Which is the hope and goal of that program series. The one in June, yes, is in partnership with Made by Us and is our Slice of History program. But we have one in August and October as well that are going to be coming up. So yeah.
Yeah, so if you haven't listened to those episodes, we have Alex Edgar from Made by Us on an episode, and then our second episode with Norman Birds, he's on the board of Made by Us. So people, it's not just us that we're working with Made by Us. Made by
Yeah.
Us is this sort of working with everybody.
No, they're very cool. They're a very cool organization, and their mission is super important.
I am a librarian, although not exactly right now. I am working on a grant project at the moment. It's a 2-year grant project. I'm about halfway through. But when I first started IHS in 2021, I was the visual reference librarian, the reference librarian, and worked mainly with the visual collection and the reference staff and the reference team. So yeah, working on the grant project and then I will transition back to being a full-time reference librarian. So, yeah.
Our jobs and our backgrounds made working on the podcast really helpful because, like, although yes, I am a trained historian, I can find things in the digital collection. Reagan's familiarity with the collection in total, because she is a librarian, has been like immensely useful and helpful.
Like we'll be sitting there and he'll want to look something up in my catalog and he'll be like, oh, he's efficient, but I'm like, scoot over, let me,
Yeah. Let me take the reins.
Hang on one
I
second.
got it. And I'm like clicking through.
Yeah.
He can do it. He's very equipped to search, but I'm like, I know the tricks. Scoot over,
Yeah.
So we complement each other in that
Yeah.
way, and he does the tech and
Yeah.
the editing. So yeah.
Well, then I am curious, in that vein, as y'all have been doing your podcast thing, what's something like that you found that's been very inspirational to you? It could be like a reaction from the public, or maybe an internal reaction, or it could be just a story you found within your historical research.
Yeah.
I feel like I have more of those.
Yeah, he interacts with the public more than I do,
Yeah.
being a librarian. I will say, I'm constantly astounded at how many amazing people have lived, and are connected to Indiana. I'm a Hoosier, my whole life, and sometimes I think being in the Midwest and a state that maybe people forget about, you can sort of internalize that and be like, ugh, boring and there's nothing here. But when you read stories about really incredible people who made an impact on the world or their community, it's just really inspiring to me. And, that anything's possible with hard work and and a little bit of luck sometimes,
Yeah.
right? And some talent. But yeah, I find inspiration in our stories a lot.
Yeah.
And that people this is their home. They've made it their home. People who I think are really cool. And yeah, it makes me a more proud Hoosier, I guess.
Giving some love to the Midwest.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
and I love that because I'm from Indiana and moved away, and there was so much like vitriol of like, oh yeah, Indiana, why would you ever live there? And then I moved back, and I've fallen back in love with the state, and it's kind of been my goal here now. It's like, let's just be Indiana propagandists a little bit.
Well, who else is going to?
Right.
We must,
we
right?
like love the place that you live and try and make it better, right?
Yeah.
Not just like
Absolutely.
blindly.
Yeah.
Here's only the good things, but I do love that, and I love that you see that inspiration, and then you're able to share that with your guests, and hopefully, the audience of the podcast can be inspired by it as well.
Well, and that's kind of what I mean. So on my end, because I work with the public so much, there have been a couple of times at like programs that I've hosted that like there was one time it was at a event that we used to do. It's called Whodunit. It was a murder mystery, but people would dress up. And at one point, Fred from Scooby-Doo runs into where I am working, and he's like, "Are you Casey from the podcast?"
Whoa.
And I was like, "Yes." Maybe.
It depends.
And he was like, "I've told all my friends they need to listen to the podcast. You guys are so good and so funny, and I love when you guys like, if you don't know something, you just say so." Which I mean, I think is really important, and like it's something we generally will say on the podcast too. Is like, we're not gonna pretend to know something we don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that honesty is important. But like that experience in and of itself was really inspiring to be like, oh, someone out there with a face and a name is like listening to this, a real human being. And that's like one of a couple times that's like happened, or someone been like, I recognize your voice. Where is that from? And so like that has been a really cool and inspiring experience, and makes me feel like, oh, people are out there listening. We're not just like shouting
into the void.
It can feel like that. And like, even though you can see your numbers, right? Those numbers don't have faces. They don't have names. They're not running up to you. So it's easy to not.
In costume.
Yeah. It was so funny when I'll share this little anecdote. When he texted me, he's like, "Oh my God, Fred just ran up to me and told me he loved the podcast." I was momentarily confused because him and his partner have a cat named Fred.
Yes.
So I'm like, hold on a second. And I was just in the wrong vein, right? Wrong lane.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Fred's not listening to the podcast.
He also didn't say anything.
They can't speak. Yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah.
That was an exciting week
That was.
for us.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I
That's
know.
only happened to me once.
Yeah?
One person came up from Prophetstown during Headless Horseman, and she was like, do you do the podcast? And I was like, what? And then I turn around, I'm like,
It's such a disarming experience, isn't it?
It is. It's crazy because we're in the middle of it. That was the Headless where the hurricane destroyed the corn maze. So I'm standing in the dark.
Oh.
Telling people that they can't go into the corn maze, and then she just runs up to me. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you do the podcast! I recognize your voice." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" My heart just jumped, and it was amazing.
Like, this is how
Yeah.
famous people feel.
Oh my gosh, I'm Easton from the podcast.
Well, and now you're on camera too, so
I am.
it'll
Now
be
they'll
easier.
recognize you.
To recognize you.
Yes.
If you're watching this and not just listening to it.
Yeah.
But I know that's why I really appreciate, telling more local stories and even statewide, because it is much more personal to people, and you get that feedback from the community a lot more than if you're just out there talking about very wide ranging topics. And I mean, it's also why we've decided to do this. Our approach to America 250 is much more local focused than and like, what similarities are there to America 250, the founding, to around here? How can we talk about what does it look like? Well, so they built a country. Well, what does it look like to build a community?
Yeah.
Like, how can we work together on a local level to put forth all of these really aspirational things that were found in that founding documents?
Yeah.
How can we make that work for us here? And so I find that a lot more, just fulfilling, I guess, than telling the same national stories over and over again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you can only connect so much, I think, to those big stories. I mean, of course, they're part of our past, but some people have never been, to Boston. You can't imagine the Boston Tea Party, right? Or, you haven't seen these monuments or places. So if you can, bring it home in any way that's possible, I think that's always really great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, related to that, my question to you guys, what is IHS doing for America 250?
So the main thing that IHS is doing for America 250 is our exhibit, Freedom's Framework. And so the idea behind that is that the Northwest Territory is kind of the first true experiment of this new government, right? So the colonies were all governed by other people before becoming the United States. But the territories, they, weren't quote unquote governed, if you will.
Yes, yeah.
But it's the first time the Constitution gets to go into effect on a space that has not been governed previously by a, European country. And so it's kind of looking at that and how that all plays out from there.
Right. Do we want to mimic, the Constitution one for one? What can we change now that we're almost a generation later? Yeah. It's a really cool concept. And if that's what kind of influenced our original idea of how can we pair the power of language?
Yeah.
And how language in these documents are, still impact decisions later on.
Yeah.
I know in our exhibit, Promised Land is Proving Ground, we too talk about Northwest Territory, specifically about that language.
Yeah. Yeah, I one of our coolest quotes that we have near the Origins cabin, which is the first cabin of Promised Land is Proving Ground, is a quote from an African Methodist Episcopal, there we go, AME, that's what we say instead, AME bishop talking about the mind of the Northwest Territory is a mind of freedom, free soil, equality for all, where every man can be equal. That was the thesis of the land that we're sitting on. And because it's Promised Land is Proving Ground is less of a title and more of a question is usually what I say. How did Indiana fail and succeed in some cases to live up to that ideal? And that's kind of what you see with what we're talking about now, is that America 250, it's we're celebrating and commemorating, but we still feel like we have room to go to kind of live up to those ideals.
Yeah.
And,
reflection.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and I know it's easy to focus on that maybe being a negative, but trying to look at it in a positive light, right? We can improve. Look how much we can be better, right? Or different. So trying to frame that in a way that feels more cheerful, I guess, or joyous, as you've said.
Well, and I do think it's being optimistic. I think it is easier to be optimistic when you think about it again on the local level, those local stories, because it's easier to see the change happen oftentimes, and it's easier to see your impact on that change. And it's also less daunting because it's so daunting, especially when talking about our audience that is, younger, Gen Z. It's so daunting to be let's solve all of the country's problems. Sure. How do you do that? Well, let's start somewhere, and it's so much easier to know the place that you live in, be passionate about that place, and then figure out how you can improve it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to the stories we've covered on this latest season of our podcast have mostly been within that Northwest Territory early statehood time period. And so seeing the freedmen towns that pop up in Indiana was really fascinating. The settlement of free Black people in Indiana, and that there were multiple,
right,
is not something I think people would peg from the place, from the state that also has a ton of KKK history, right? That dichotomy is kind of wild.
Yes. And really inspiring. I mean, we talk about Charles Grier in that episode. He was a freed slave who made his way from a Virginia or a Carolina. I cannot remember.
one of the two.
And came here and just started farming, and then became successful enough, and then he started helping with the Underground Railroad, and then he helped, I think he donated some land to Lyle Station, which is a prominent free black settlement in Indiana. And then, was just a selfless and very brave person. And like,
but talk about building community
Yeah,
too. Like
he
the people
absolutely
who
was
he
integral.
had around him as well were like so committed to also
Yeah.
keeping them safe.
yeah.
So it's really interesting.
Yeah, and we shout out a previous podcast episode, but we brought in Brian Glover from Robert Settlement, which just up the road from us here, and it is interesting to be okay with some of those, not okay with, but understanding the complexity and really contradictions of your state.
Yeah.
Again, it's not inherently bad, it's not inherently good, but it's being able to sit with some of those contradictions, and it, I think, makes you have a better appreciation for where you live.
Yeah.
Obviously Indiana has very complicated past with the Klan, but also within those, there's those stories of people resisting.
Yeah.
I know IHS did a very good exhibit specifically about that. We also, last year was the 100th anniversary of the Grand Dragon in Indiana's trial, 1925, D.C. Stevenson. And so we also had a speaker series, and it just focused on the people who resisted, because it's something that like it is good to have context with, because one thing I always hate is like, well, everyone was okay with slavery. Well, that's not true.
No.
The majority of Virginia in the 1850s were enslaved Africans. Obviously, they were
Yeah.
okay
Right.
with that.
Right.
Like, the majority of people, like, factually, were not. And so it's I love taking a deeper dive and looking at those complications, because even some of those, like, people sort of just pass it off like, oh, that was just the history that's past. Like, it's even more complicated than that.
Well, and if you want to talk about language there, like freed people, like the majority of freed people didn't have an issue with, like, is more so probably what they mean to say when they say things like the majority of people were okay with slavery back then, right? And even that's not true.
Yeah, and you can, and the great thing is you're always finding people resisting.
Yeah.
Something that we did a partner program just a couple of weeks ago for Blackbirders Week. Marianne from IHS brought over a bunch of like original, like first copy Thomas Paine Common Sense. And the thing that I always appreciate is that everyone's like, well, Thomas Paine is one of those contrarians, because he comes over and like the first things he writes about are like women's suffrage, animal rights, like abolition. And then he writes Common Sense. And that's the most popular book in the colonies behind the Bible. And so it's not like these are fringe ideas either. It's being, these things are being talked about by people who had influence and were obviously being read. It's not like things are being pulled from just out of nowhere.
Nowhere,
So.
yeah.
Well, and that also touches on something we've already talked about, where like even our stories about the revolution, right? Like it's this whole, the revolution was a foregone conclusion. Everybody wanted us to be independent, when in reality wasn't it like 1/3 didn't care, 1/3 wanted to stay loyal to the crown, and then the other third.
The numbers I hear is it's like 25%,
like
supported some sort of revolution or some sort of change. 25 were loyal, and then 50% were just like
Just
not
trying to live life.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
I got a farm, dude.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay alive. I think I often think about existing in a moment like that, like, when the world, your world as you know it is going through such change, whether you believed in it or not. So in some ways you're held hostage by this change, perhaps, right? And I always try to imagine what that would feel like, and it would probably be very like scary, right, and disorienting. And I think that I find, oddly enough, some comfort in that, because we exist in a world that can feel, I don't even know the right word for it, but to know that, like, as a country, we've been through something like this before, and we can get out of it, right, and hopefully better, right? So, I don't know. We've done it before. I try to find comfort in that, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine existing then and just, like, we've left our homes and we're going to make a new country. Like, that must have been terrifying to live through.
Yeah.
Uncertainty, anyway. Yeah.
Do you have anything?
I have things
Go ahead, Casey.
maybe
Let
not
them know.
appropriate for the
I
podcast.
know.
Because my historical training is in like early modern Europe, England, colonial America.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, like, oh, they left for a new life. They wanted to do this. They wanted to do that. And it's like, well,
There's more nuance to
there's
it.
a lot of nuance to
Yeah.
it of like, it's actually a lot of them were like religious extremists, and they were like, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of them were, people who got shipped off because like they were criminals.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
Like-
colony of Georgia.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
Well, like look at New Zealand and Australia
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like as a bigger example, but
Penal colonies.
exactly.
Yeah.
So like, and a lot of it too was like second and third sons of like nobility and like merchants and things who wanted to make a life for themselves because they knew they weren't going to get a big inheritance if they stayed, right? Like, but I digress.
No, I mean it is fascinating to think of like all of those people coming together and
Yeah.
somehow creating. Again, it's not a
Truly.
foregone conclusion because
Yeah.
like there were so many things going on, and it's surprising that all the founders didn't agree.
Yeah.
It's something that we're going to bring up on our slice of history. We're doing Hamilton night, and so
So fun.
at least they show that the founding fathers didn't agree. But even then, like with the Constitutional Congress,
Yeah.
they just straight up didn't invite the people that didn't agree with them when they were
Yeah.
creating the Constitution.
Yeah.
And then they kind of pushed to the side how Hamilton proposes basically a new form of monarchy, and they're just like, oh, he was just talking, and everyone was listening to him. But that's neither here. Come to our slice of history; it'll be fun. We're talking about Hamilton, but yeah, it's again all this nuances. It's very interesting, and it does like it gives you a different. I don't want to say patriotism, but appreciation for the country in which you live in.
Yeah.
And like again, it's okay to be messy in your life because look at all of the mess of
Yeah.
history
Yeah.
before you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
I find comfort in that.
and like the other thing that makes me feel better, maybe not more or less patriotic, but like better about myself, is knowing that like these founding fathers were really in their like late 20s.
Right. They were
Like they were young.
Yeah.
They were not like these like
Other than Benjamin Franklin.
sure, besides Benjamin
Yes.
Franklin, but they weren't like all like 65,
Yeah.
50. They
Yeah.
were like young men.
Yeah. Who just had some really big ideas.
Yeah, and we're like, let's do it. Like they were quite literally the age of like, new college grads.
Yeah. And when you put it like that, it all just feels even more unbelievable that it
Happened.
happened and like more or less for the past 250 years has been,
Functioning.
functioning.
There was 4 years that was hit or miss there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those early days.
Yeah.
So that is actually a really good segue. So we're often told that history is very, very important. And I want to talk about why, especially when people are looking to our institutions to bridge the gaps between their own historical understandings and kind of like cover what we're not getting in school. So like a lot of times you'll
what
hear
is our
like,
role
yeah,
in
what
that
is our role
as
in like
cultural institutions?
supplementing what people are now lacking because, the current situations in schools.
I think to me, the most important part of history in our work is helping people feel rooted in the now and understanding what's happening around them. I think it can be very confusing to exist in a world when you don't understand why things are happening or why they work the way they work. And I find that for me, understanding the history of a thing helps me get my mind around it and can help me come to terms with it or decide how I feel. And I think in a world that can feel uncertain in a lot of ways, understanding how and why things happen for me is very comforting. And history can provide that, right? Like, why do we have this? Or why are we here? Or, what is this thing that we're doing that we've been doing? Why is that? And I think helping people understand their life now through the past is important.
Right. otherwise you're like jumping into a book that you haven't read
exactly.
the past 250 chapters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've just been thrown on the deep end, and you're letting it all happen to you, which, you know, to a certain extent, we all exist like that. But it gives me some control to know, like, how we got here. And that makes me feel better, even, you know, being a little bit in control of my knowledge of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, in terms of like role we play, like I think the same as people who work in these institutions, I think these institutions also wear so many hats, right? Like we're community spaces, we're education spaces, we are research spaces, like we are these multitudes of things. But I think for like me, like when I was growing up and going to places like this, it was always about like building on what I learned in school. And now as an adult, it's kind of like I look at it now and I'm like, oh, I was like looking at like the chain reactions of like how we got to a place. And I think that like just piggybacking off of what you said, like when you can understand how and why something happened, it helps you go, oh, well, either I want this to happen again or I don't want this to happen again. What are the alternatives? And I think that like that's true of history, but that's also true of things like civics and like understanding how to be a good like civics human,
Citizen, whatever.
whatever, right? But like for me, history demystifies the past too. Like what we were just saying, like with the founding fathers being so young, right? Like doesn't that change like your entire perception of the American Revolution?
It also makes me feel kind of a failure myself. I'm like, I haven't done so much, but no,
you know, like
Boy.
sure, like I don't agree with that. For me, I like thinking about the situation we're in, like the way some people talk about the founding fathers. I'm like, you're talking about someone who, if you worked with someone that age, you wouldn't trust them to make a decision.
Right.
So how where's that disconnect, right? Like, but it helps demystify that like concept in your head, I think, personally.
Yeah. What I love about history is that people have always just been people. We think of people from the past as these all-knowing, wise, just like almost like just perfect people. But really, they're just people, and people make mistakes, and they're not perfect, and they're messy, right? And so I love the demystifying is so important to me, because if you can see yourself maybe in someone who you admire from the past, or imagine them being like you, I think that is really grounding and can help you feel like you can do more maybe, right? Or you're capable of more than you give yourself credit for.
Or the reverse.
Or the reverse. I'm trying to be positive.
No. And you see yourself in someone you don't like, and you're like, I need to change. And you're like, okay, what did they do, and how can I not do that? How can I go to the opposite direction?
Let's learn from them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And that's what's great about history is like we have so much to learn from. Probably the mistakes that we make have been made before.
Yeah.
And all you can do is learn from it, right?
And they most definitely have.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Thinking about that in the context of like America 250, it's really interesting because it's both a very like exciting time to think about it. It's also a very dangerous time because we can get caught up in, you know, some of the myths or some of this big man history. Like you said, we have kind of these mythologized ideas of like certain people of the past, and we can, you know, do the work and like demystify it. But it's also an opportunity. America 250 is a great opportunity to do that work, which is really cool. Something that I know you said previously is your other work, and kind of the thing that you're hoping. I hear it in between the lines, where a lot of this work that you guys do is for younger people. It's for, I want to say our age, but I have no idea what our age is.
No, it is. Yeah.
And so,
I mean, there's definitely some selfishness there. Like,
well, I'm just curious, other than podcast, what other methods do you think can help make history appealing to that demographic?
That is the $1 million question.
Truly. if we knew, we would have the most successful programs ever.
Yeah.
I think it's hard, right? Because like humans are creatures of habit, and it's truly figuring out a way
to
break
them
habit and
maybe start a new one.
And start a new one, maybe, yeah. But like, I think it's framing. It's a lot of it's language, truly, right? Like
The power of language.
no, really. Like if I was doing a program on the same subject, and I had 2 programs, and one was going to be this lecture, and it was going to be a historian. They're going to come in, they're going to lecture on this topic, or I'm going to do some type of activity on it. Like we're going to make a craft that's going to somehow relate to this topic. And there's going to be stuff about the topic involved, but it's not going to be this deep dive. But you're going to learn about it. Like, which one are you going to go to, right?
Yeah.
Personally,
Depends on
I
the
would go to
person.
either one.
Yeah.
Like, if you're looking at the general public,
Yes.
I would argue they're going to go to the one where they get to do something and put their hands on something and get to feel like they're involved in the thing rather than just like sitting and listening.
Right. Because there's also that we always dance around, in historians and museums in general, dance around the like fun entertainment. Like, but there is that thing that it has to be at least somewhat fun to do, or the people are just going to not want to come back. Like if it's only vegetables all the time, they're not going to come back to the buffet.
You need a little cake.
Or the topic has to just be so enticing that it works on its own. And I think that in and of itself can be hard to find. I think, too, like so many people now are also just looking for like things that feel real and things that feel genuine, right? And that might be just like my own interpretation of like the cultural moment that we're in, especially for people who were born like between, you know, I'm going to say 1994 and 2005, right? That feels like a good age range.
Yeah.
So around Gen Z.
Yes. Yeah. Like late millennial or like Gen Z time frame. Like it feels like genuine connection, like institutions feeling genuine is something that they're looking for. Yeah. And like, I might be wrong about that.
Well, I think so. To cut through the noise and just the performativeness sometimes that we can feel in certain months or in certain times of the year, right? Just being genuine. I will say this question about how do you attract people of a younger age, this is a question solely for Casey because in the library, I don't know, I only deal in old stuff, right?
How do you get young people to the library?
Honestly, their teachers make them go, hey, do research on this paper.
Yeah.
And then they'll show up.
So it's obligation and not
Obligation,
joy.
but hey, we'll take you no matter how you go.
And I don't want to say that's part of the problem, but I do think that is a part of this situation where they often see, oh, my teacher made me do this, or my parents made me do this. And as soon as you get your freedom, you're immediately still trying to figure out what you want to do, but you know you don't necessarily want to do the things that you were made to do. Yeah. So how do we keep even, you know, growing them from a younger age that like, while your teacher may be making you do this, this is still like something worth your time.
Yeah. I think that's where Casey comes in, right? Using primary sources and archival materials, like look at this cool topic, we can like have crafts and look at this cool thing. I mean, we make it available.
That's more so where like Beth and Lexi come in, who are the other two members on our team. Yeah.
I think, and then also people finding a topic that really interests them, not that they're told to be interested in.
I also think like in museums, we have this opportunity for people to learn on their own.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like, and people at their core, I think, want to learn, right? They want to learn new things. They like whenever you see something on like TikTok or Instagram and you're like, oh, that's so interesting. Like you usually don't check and then send it to someone else and are like, isn't that so cool? One, you should check that. But like, that's the thing. Like you're passing on pieces of knowledge all the time, whether you think about it or not. And like in museums, I like to call it like the aha moment. Like when someone really like learns something new and it clicks for them, like, and it changes how they view a topic. We get the opportunity to do that in a way that traditional schools don't.
Yes. Right. Learning isn't fun in school generally. You're told what to learn. I mean, unless you inherently are the type of person, but like you're told to learn and you're not encouraged to explore. Always. I know that there's, you know, some discourse about that. But if you're encouraged to find a joy in learning, then I think You become a lifelong learner.
Yeah, and museums and cultural institutions have that flexibility
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Just again, with your format of your show, you're able to really talk about a lot of different things that, you know, a student or a classroom wouldn't necessarily have the flexibility to.
Absolutely.
And a lot of classrooms don't have the flexibility also to look like
Beyond the curriculum.
Beyond the curriculum, and also like so like micro history, like so niche into local history, like
Which is really where you can really find.
If you want to know like why the things like, for me it's like, why is that building there, or why is it weirdly shaped? And I'm like, well, let me go look, and like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know we had XYZ in this. Yeah. Why don't we have that anymore?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And those are the things that I'm like, wow, like change my view of the city, because like a lot of these smaller towns were thriving at some point, and I'm just like, well, what happened, and how can we make it so that it's, you know, doing that again? I have to ask, I was meaning to ask this a little bit ago when you mentioned you think the name of a program also does a lot of like heavy lifting on, say, what it does and getting people involved. Were you in charge of Who's Jerry and What Is He Meandering?
That was me. Yes.
Okay.
That was me.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We read it in our office. Was like, why can't we be?
Why can't we be that?
Yeah.
He does our podcast names, and that is probably
don't look at our podcast names. We have one just named Food.
That is probably his like most proud accomplishment
truly.
To this. Like, there's one that says, "Get in, girl, we're going shopping."
Get in, Hoosier.
Get in, Hoosier, we're going shopping.
Oh
man, that he loves to hang his hat, and I'm proud of him. His creativity really shines in the naming of our episodes.
Truly, when I look at what is like peak naming for a program, it is Who's Jerry and What He's Meandering.
Thank you.
Because immediately
that's your tier.
Well, it's you get everything you know. Like if you know gerrymandering, it's like, oh, that's funny. But like, it's even asking the question within the thing that you're doing. Like it's beautiful.
Look at you.
Can we go back a second?
What?
We have some really good names back in This Is Problematic.
I'm just saying.
This is Reclamation got kind of technical because, like, of course, you're not going to put humor
I'm just saying
in a very sad.
We just released an episode that was just called Food.
We did, but like, I'm just saying, if you want to see some really cool names, they're not like yours. But like, go back to like we had Prairie Little Liars. Remember?
That's good.
Yeah, that was probably the peak, actually. I think that was probably that was like the one. So I lied. We had like one really, really good one.
Well, and my question, what is that episode about?
The Prairie.
Why would you do that to me? You know,
Is it not about the Prairie?
You know, I done forgot about exactly what that was about.
Yeah.
No, it was about. I remember it was the myth of the frontier. So essentially, the whole like
so that's
dismantling the whole like rugged individualism.
Type
No, okay, that's good.
thing.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
that was. You know, so for you to just say our podcast,
I'm talking about
bad.
this.
He's rooted very right now.
This episode's going to be called IHS.
That's crazy.
No,
you guys
we'll have a better episode. We'll have a better episode title.
You need brainstorming. Casey's great at titles.
Hey, not all of them are winners. There's some duds in there.
Yeah. So when you're watching this or listening to this, it's a surprise to us what the episode title's going to be.
Us too when we're recording. Yeah.
We can change them though. We can go back and change them.
Yeah.
It's usually like gaining what the vibe of the episode is mid-episode and being like, okay,
yeah,
where are we doing?
Trying to be funny, trying to catch people, right?
Yeah. What was the last one we just did?
There was a girl. Let's Go Girls.
Let's Go Girls. Yeah, I think that was the last one that we just did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's okay.
I mean, I think it's more than okay.
Sure. It's
Is it your best work? Maybe not,
No.
but like it's still good.
Is it Shania Twain? Yes. And that's always good.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's not Mean Girls though. So
no.
what are you gonna do?
No.
Oh, that's so fun. We get to have some creativity in that way and show our personality.
Yeah.
So that's nice that we get to do that.
But thank you again. I'll take the compliment.
Oh, absolutely. Y'all are leaps and bounds.
Well, and it also it ended up being very poignant for later in the year.
So
yeah.
So that's the thing, is like the season we were talking about earlier that was like really heavy. Yeah. It felt like we were the world's like saddest wizards.
We were doing a topic,
and then 6 months later it would happen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have examples?
Yeah. Don't we?
I mean, we do, but we shouldn't.
It's
We
sad.
shouldn't.
Just go back
Sad.
and watch the season and
Yeah.
see if you can make the connections.
Sure.
Or listen to the season.
Yeah.
They're not great predictions.
They're no.
right?
It was like very upsetting, sad things. But yeah, history's fun.
History
Yeah.
is fun.
It is.
You know
The
what?
natural curiosity of youth.
Let's have some joy, shall
Yeah.
we? Let's go. Well, first of all, I want to hit a mean audible on this joy corner. I'm just curious. Do y'all have like a wildest thing y'all have found in their podcast process?
Wildest thing. There's been some wild husbands
Oh.
and men in our episodes.
So true.
As soon as you say husbands, you're like, oh no, that's gonna be a story.
We did the Let's Go Girls episode. It's the
Sure.
one I can just think of, where her husband was a doctor and then out of the blue didn't tell her she's like 6 months pregnant and has a handicapped, disabled son who's like 8, 9.
Yeah, something like that.
And he just, without telling her, signs up to be a missionary and sending them to Alaska. And I'm talking remote Alaska.
The most remote.
The most
point in
remote tip of
He
Alaska.
sends them.
No, he
No,
goes
he-
too.
Oh,
Yeah,
goes
but he
to
doesn't-
them.
signs
Okay.
them all up.
He doesn't.
Okay.
He doesn't ask her. He doesn't inform her. He's just like, hey, I
She
did
finds
this.
the letter in the mail.
Yeah.
That's how she found out.
Yeah, and is like, hey, we're going to Alaska. I know you're pregnant, and we have a son who may or may not travel well.
And
You know?
a new baby
Yeah,
on the way.
crazy. So there's been some really. I hate judging people.
The snake hunter. Lest we forget the snake hunter.
There was a boyfriend, husband.
Yeah.
Who was maybe a snake hunter, maybe a runaway criminal.
Yeah.
Maybe just a man. We weren't sure.
Well, just a man, yes.
But yeah, yeah. There's been some interesting partners, I will say.
Yeah.
And I hate to judge people in the future, right? Like I'm in the future and they're in the past, so I have a hindsight and a knowledge that they don't. But there are some just like basic human empathy. I'm like, we could have told our wife about that.
There's also like a lot of like people who climb to fame in Indiana
And then
and
just
just crash and burn.
they're like famous for like a year, a couple months.
Or like the one who comes to mind is like Valeska, who was a burlesque kind of vamp. And she was like super, super famous and super popular. And she was there with like MGM
Yep.
when they like started. One, none of her films survived. So
Fire.
that's
Oh,
Yeah.
very
no.
sad.
Yeah.
But she was like huge and famous. And what happened to her was she was like, I'm going to go to Chicago. And then she did. And then she met a rich guy and he gave her a bunch of money to go to New York. And then she went to New York. And then some other rich guy gave her even more money. And then she was able to like produce films and plays and like,
And then she died like mentally ill and drinking, I think. She was had some
Yeah.
substance abuse issues, alone in like an apartment,
yeah.
you know?
So that was a minus the ending.
Not funny, but
Like
there's just been some really,
Really
wild
wild
characters that
people. More fun. And in the episode that'll come out tomorrow, exciting. Which this
It will be out by the time
It'll
Yeah.
be
this
out by
episode
this
comes out.
Yeah.
comes out. We talk about her name is Dale Messick, and she is
Dahlia, I think, isn't it?
that's her real name.
Oh, sorry.
Her
Okay.
her like professional name that she went by was Dale, so that it was more masculine. Because she was a cartoonist, and so she used Dale as her professional name. So like if someone was reading a resume or looking at a portfolio, they'd be like, "Oh, this guy's great." But her comic strip, Brenda Star Reporter, was one of the most popular like cartoon newspaper comics in the country, to the point where like the president wished her congratulations when her character got married.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it was Ford.
I think.
I think it was Ford did that. Yeah, and she was just wild and like just had this crazy career and was super popular, and she just like came out of nowhere basically, and like that was a very cool story to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indiana, known for cartoonists, surprisingly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, true.
It's not in frame, but
Yeah.
there is
It's-
Jim
Yeah.
David,
Yeah.
signed
Garfield
Jim
over
Davis
there.
who, and this is unfortunate just because of newspapers, he has the world record of the most syndicated comic
Yeah.
that will probably never be broken because newspapers don't print as much as they
Yeah,
used to.
that's
Yeah.
true.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So And yeah, Indiana, known for cartoonists,
And
which is
surprising talent. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Isn't that fun?
But
Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, Easton, but
It did. It completely did, and especially because it was a question I was not planning to ask, and I did not warn you about ahead of time. Y'all did
no,
really
that's
good.
fair. Yeah.
it's okay. We're like
mean,
put on the spot. It's fine.
Yeah, no, there's like wild and crazy things everywhere. Like when we were talking about the Northwest Territory, we covered like Northwest Territory like courts and laws and like the
Statehood kind of.
yeah, and the way that the justice system worked was insane, and that judges went town to town.
yeah.
They didn't
It's
have
It's like a circuit.
Yeah, a circuit.
like a circuit
Yeah.
judge.
How did
Yeah.
anything get done? I don't know.
Well, it didn't. Is the
but
issue.
some of it did though.
Some of
Like,
it did.
there
It just
were-
depended on if the judge actually wanted to travel all
Yeah,
the way out
that's
to
fair.
like the further reaches of the Northwest
That's
Territory
fair.
or not.
Or like this is something I love. George Donaldson. We have a Scotsman to thank for basically Spring Mill State Park.
Oh yeah. I was just down there. It's a great state park.
It is
Yeah.
beautiful, and just an eccentric naturalist
Yeah.
came to near Mitchell, Indiana, and was very affectionate about his land and
Love him.
would never sell it.
Crazy.
Yeah, so
Wild. Crazy is the wrong word.
Wild.
Wild guy.
Yeah,
He had a cave. He stood on top of the cave mouth with a gun. It was exciting.
yeah.
Shot
Wow.
at people
Yeah.
for
Yep.
coming too close to the
He
cave.
would
Shot at them.
shot
around
around here
them.
Around
to
them.
deter them, to scoot them along.
Yeah,
he
they
didn't want
didn't
them
need to-
going in his caves.
Yeah.
He could
Cave's
go.
also very gorgeous. I just went
Yeah.
there like
Yeah.
earlier this
Yeah.
spring, and it's
Yeah,
very surprised.
And
that,
you
like,
and you should feel lucky that Donaldson wasn't there
Wasn't
to deter
there.
you.
because he would have said, "Scram, get away."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He like paid to like name people's children.
Which is bizarre, right?
Loved.
Because he didn't have any kids.
yeah.
And then he'd name them.
Like we
Eccentric
like,
names.
Yeah. Like weird names.
Yeah.
I loved
Yeah,
that.
he was-
Love that man.
He'd have big parties.
Yeah.
But then.
Have his friends live with him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, really cool guy. So like we have a Scotsman to thank for Spring Mill, and like that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Well, and I think that goes back to loving your home. A part of it is finding it interesting. So many people find Indiana boring. Like, oh, it's just a 5-hour state. What happens there? Well, we do have
yeah.
a very storied history, and
Yeah.
a lot of it is very interesting and wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and some of it too, like sometimes, like in that vein of questioning, like my wonder a lot of the time with a lot of these stories is how did you decide here? How did you
Yeah.
get here?
Yeah.
And sometimes that question is not,
Not
answered.
Yeah, we don't know why Donaldson came here.
Yeah.
Just that,
He
did.
He was here.
and now we have
he did
Spring
it.
Mill.
Yeah.
A lot of Spring Mill, not all of it, but
Right.
a
The-
large chunk of
a
it.
good chunk.
Yeah. So
Well, I'll get to the real Joy Corner question. Oh, sorry about that.
it's okay.
Flew off the, went a little bit off script there. But yes. So, okay. If you all were to start, or each of you individually, to start your own personal podcast, like I'm talking like on the weekends in your garage just for fun, what would the podcast be about?
I would do a podcast about beginner gardening. My husband and I bought a house 3 years ago, and every summer I've had a garden, and I've learned a lot. Every season is a new learning opportunity, and I would probably just talk about what I've learned, what I did wrong, what I'm hoping to do better, right? And things like that. I think gardening, is intimidating because, it was to me because it feels like there's so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot
To
of
do
things
right.
outside of your
Control. Yeah.
and also it's life and death at the same time.
Yeah. Luckily, like, if my tomato plant doesn't produce a lot of tomatoes, okay, well, I can go buy other tomatoes. But, like, I'm putting a lot of effort. I want this tomato to do well. So, yeah, like, my first season, I forgot to fertilize and just never grew anything, really. I learned about grubs, about powdery mildew. I've just done a lot. And so I would, for the beginner gardener, I think I would do that. So...
I think I would do one on like drawn media, if you will. So like comics and like cartoons, and kind of talk about those things. Like I'm a huge comics fan, and I think I would talk about like a little bit history, like hey, this came out around this time, and it was probably like impacted by this. Like, I'm a big media literacy person, and so like I feel like talking about those kinds of stories is really fun and really cool. And like you've heard me talk about things ad nauseum, of like, yeah, this was written this way because like they couldn't write it this way. Like, and I think that's a lot of fun to get into.
So Easton, what would you do, Mr. Podcast for Connor Prairie?
You know, I don't know, because I'm torn between things. I like very, no pun intended, I like very, I don't know, like obscure historical stories. So, but I feel like there's a million obscure historical podcasts out there. So I don't exactly know if like, but again, if this is something that you're doing just because you love it, then like I want to do like obscure folklore related things. I want to do some of that stuff. Like, why did people in this very small community think there was a monster at the bottom of this pond when there was probably no monster at the bottom of the pond and stuff like that? I want to go through that stuff, and I want to go to those places.
Would it have like a spooky vibe?
Yeah, like I'm thinking like fall is my favorite season. So like I'm thinking every fall you get a new batch of episodes. And then the rest of the year I can just kind of plan the stuff out. Like I want to go there. I want to talk to people. I want to see these alleged areas that people were talking about.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My boring answer was going to be like sports, but then when y'all were like, we don't really do sports, I was like, okay.
I mean,
well, then
you
I'm
can
not-
do you can
Right.
do sports.
There's also a million trillion sports podcasts out there, so
Yeah.
there's really no one needs to hear my opinions about sports.
Especially when like every athlete has their own podcast now too. It seems.
Yeah,
you
I
say
could do
so.
like local kickball.
Yeah, that's what I was
There
like.
you
Do something
go.
like
That'd be
local
sick.
Kickball league.
Get the tea for the local kickball league. That would be fun.
Or like pickleball. Like
People do that though. Like there's quite a few like rugby podcasts for like local rugby leagues.
Oh, interesting.
You know, I might have something
know.
there. Just
you
don't
go.
let the gambling companies hear, because then they'll be like, "Can we just start doing over/unders on kickball games?" And then we're gonna start.
Oh my
we're
God.
gonna go into some bad.
Opening a can of
Start
worms.
throwing your own kickball games.
I would never.
You're in a kickball team?
I am.
Wow. He just played kickball for like an event, and he was like, Reagan, I'm so sore today.
Yeah,
But he had so much fun.
I did.
It's a lot of fun, but it is not like what we were when we were kids.
Oh, is it really intense?
Well,
It's pretty intense.
sure.
His is. Not yours.
Yours might be. Mine was not.
You're just not used to it. Yeah.
You got to stretch before and after,
And you know what I did?
and it still
And it
hurts.
still hurts.
Yeah.
That still did not work.
I'm sorry.
about you?
You're not gonna be surprised by this, Easton. But I would love to do something similar where I would go places. But I'm a museum guy. I love just going to museums.
Yeah.
I don't know if this will make sense if you're listening to these all the way through, but as of recording this episode, I've gone to 125 museums this year.
Hey,
Wow.
congratulations.
wild.
My goal is 250, so I am actually exactly halfway. And
At about halfway.
yeah,
That's
so
wild.
yeah.
That's a lot of museums.
It
There's
is
a lot of
almost too
museums.
many museums, and I don't do anything with it other than just hang out.
It's just the vibe.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I have lists that I make, and I have
Yeah.
the data of how much I spend and who goes with me. But I think it'd be fun to talk about. And now, since this is hypothetical, and I won't do this, I've already like thought through this in my mind, because like the one thing that would complicate it is the fact that I'm so like also in the museum world.
Yeah.
You don't want to start like saying anything negative about
Sure.
museums that you know people who work there or potential future employers.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
And so I'm like, would it even be that exciting if I can't like talk about weird situations that I see in museums or like,
Right.
so if it's
Yeah.
hypothetical, I would like to do this, but
Yeah.
in practice, I will not. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love museums.
125. That's an insane
That is
amount
a
for half a year.
wild
A
number.
lot of county museums.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of IHS getting to work with all the county museums.
Yeah.
I'm sad that not all the counties have a museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes I've made the mistake of not checking whether the historical society is a historical society or a museum, where I've just showed up and it's just these like two nice ladies
Yeah.
like cutting out papers, and I'm like, and they're like, hi. I'm like, is this the museum? She's like, no. I'm like, oh, I drove 2 hours. They're like, you can come and look at these photos. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Like, it counts. Write it down.
It counts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
for sure. Definitely counts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's so many interesting situations like that. This past weekend, I ended up just being a part of an opening exhibition that I wasn't planning on doing, and I got to talk to all of the artists that were there. I was there like an hour before it opened, so like I just got to hang out with the behind the scenes.
Wow.
I did say like, hey, I work at museums.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you're cool. You can hang
Yeah.
out. Like, and so I always end up in like weird scenarios where I just get to see things, and so I love it.
Isn't that funny how that works? Whenever you go to a museum and you're like, so I also work for a museum, and they're like,
Get over here.
they're like, come look at this thing.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Show
so
you something good.
Yeah,
something
literally.
That the public doesn't
Yeah.
see usually.
Yeah.
Blow your socks off. Yeah.
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 Right.
So
place,
I
right
would do
time.
that would be fun. I think.
Well, those are some really good answers, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
In another world, maybe we'll be able. You know what? Maybe someday down the road, when we
Yeah.
all retire,
Yeah.
and we're claiming it right now,
Yeah.
we can all do our dream podcast.
I plan on not going to this many museums after this year.
Oh, this
You're like,
year's changed.
never again.
This year's changed.
250 is kind of too. It's too
Well,
many.
that and like you're probably knocking off ones close enough to you that make it easy to accomplish such a goal.
Well, last year I went to 200, so I've already done that.
You've been doing this a while.
Oh yeah, this is his thing. This is Ryan's thing.
This
Space,
is
Lego, and going to museums.
wild.
Have you heard our space episode?
Space Legos.
Space Legos.
I haven't. What
Pierogies in space.
Pierogies
Oh.
in space.
We did an episode on Gus Grissom and
speaking of Spring Mill,
yes,
May he rest in
medicine.
peace.
It was the science episode.
it was a science episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about space and Gus Grissom.
awesome. Big fan of space.
Have
but
you been to the Challenger Center
No,
up in Hammond?
no.
You should look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a museum. Yeah.
Nah,
Can we count it though? We can count it. Yeah,
kind of more or less.
I would say yeah.
They're like an education center.
You get
Yeah.
to pretend
yeah.
to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
It's a thingy.
Okay, where were we? Second
Second question.
Cool.
Second question. Okay. What's your least favorite color? Not your favorite, because we can all talk about favorite colors all day. I'm talking least favorite. I'm talking what color can you not stand?
I don't like bright red cars, specifically
Oh,
red
really?
on a car.
Uh-huh.
I will take red in like a shirt or a dress, but like if it's on a vehicle, ew. Yeah.
Because why is it that red?
Why is it that bright? Funny enough, my husband was driving a red car like a month before he met me, and then like a tree limb fell on it, and he had to get a new car. And
It was a sign.
It was a sign because I said if you'd rolled up in that red car, we would not be married, sir.
That's interesting.
Oh, wow.
I
It's
know.
that deep.
So-
It's that deep
It's
to
that
me.
deep.
I do have to find this because I'm actually really sad about how we are getting less and less colors in cars.
I know.
And so,
I hear
are you okay with other colors? Like,
Yes.
Like bright, greens and
Yeah,
yellows
I
and-
wouldn't do it, but like, send it. I don't like red cars. I just find them a lot. Don't care for them.
I used to have
So-
a cherry red Monte Carlo. It was my favorite car.
So Lightning McQueen, not a fan.
Okay, so here's my husband and I were just talking about this. Watching cars. I like Lightning McQueen when he gets glitter paint from Radiator Springs. You know, when he goes around and he gets all the treatment.
Ramon.
Yes, and Ramon does them all glittery and red. I like that, like a ruby. Like a Wizard of Oz, the Dorothy shoes.
Ruby slipper.
Thank you. Yeah,
You
Ruby.
were saying the right
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That's fine, but like as original color, no, just
Wild.
don't like red in cars.
Even on a race car.
Yep,
What if it's like a muscle car? Like a cherry red Chevelle.
I wouldn't buy it. You know, I'd have to repaint it.
I understand
But
that.
you wouldn't vomit at it.
I wouldn't vomit at any of them. I just don't like them. I'll take red in any other form except in a car.
See, I love that. This is already exceeding my expectations because, I mean, that whole story was
No.
just spectacular.
It makes no sense, but that's just a rule I live by. So
Yeah.
you know.
I when you first asked us, I was like, I would feel bad to say anything because like, what if it is someone else's favorite color? But I
That's
like
life,
your
though.
specificity of it
Yeah.
because now, like for me, now I'm thinking of what shirts will I not wear if it's that color because that is like a personal thing. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm dissing someone else's
Yeah.
interest. For me, and I think this is just because it does not fit with my complexion, is like yellows.
Fair.
Yellows just don't. it's not a good contrast
Sure.
to me.
Just not in your color wheel.
No, it's not. And so I stick with blues.
Yeah.
Typically blues. But
Yeah.
yellow looks good on you.
It does.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
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 This is also
I
a-
couldn't pull it off.
This is also a pastel yellow, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit different than like
Yeah.
a bright as the sun SpongeBob
Right.
SquarePants yellow.
The spectrum of yellow is important to consider.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good answer.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel that though because I wear a lot of khakis, and I feel like I can't wear yellow with khaki pants. I don't know why. It feels too monotone to me in a way that I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about is yellow your answer?
No, yellow's not my answer. I think it's chartreuse. Isn't chartreuse that like gross puke green?
I really love chartreuse, but yeah,
That disgusting puke.
it's a really
green?
aggressive green.
It's making a comeback, I've heard.
It is. I love chartreuse.
Any reason
Gross.
why? Just it reminds you of...
I think it reminds me of like vomit,
a
and
little
like
bit
that's not for
putrid?
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
putrid is a great
Yeah.
word for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's the color I'm actually thinking of, then yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like gross like vomit green. That's like kind of brown, kind of green, but
I've-
lighter.
I find it more radioactive, green,
Sure.
yellow.
I think that's more neon.
I think chartreuse and neon green, there's a tight line between them.
See, but I like neon.
I know, but then I think when you get to chartreuse, I think you get a little
It muddies it.
muddy.
Like
yeah.
it makes it brown. Yeah.
little browner. Yeah.
I was gonna say if it wasn't color, I would have done like a muddy yellow as my least
Yeah.
favorite. Just like it just feels dirty.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Little icky.
Yeah.
like a dingy yellow. Yeah, yeah. Okay, what about you?
Oh, well,
It better not be blue.
it's not blue, no. We may have to cut some of this because it's like, here's the thing. I always, okay, first and foremost, a color that I think is unnet, it only exists to serve a purpose. So like neon green or neon yellow, like I'm talking like the incredibly bright, like obnoxiously
Like
Sure.
neon
safety
yellow.
vest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my whole thing is like, I wanted to say that because I'm judging by, again, it goes back to kickball because like every year you get a different shirt.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
like, we have the neon shirt, but I kept it because like, if I'm ever walking at night, I need the whole county to be able to see
Yeah.
me.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's when you need your neon.
Yeah.
But like, it also gives me like, no offense to Under Armour, but like the very like oppressively bright Under Armour socks and all that kind of stuff that a lot of us were wearing in middle school because we thought it looked cool. And when I look back at it, I'm like, no.
You live and you learn. Yeah.
You live and you learn. That being said, we also had but we got a really, really weird, like, fleshy pink shirt one year. And
I was waiting for where you
What
were
is he gonna
going.
say?
I didn't want to say, like, gosh, like, in the Crayola box, it's called apricot.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, like, fleshy pink
But
color.
like, who looks
Yeah.
good in that color? No one looks good in that color. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not a.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think I
Yeah.
might cut that part. I don't want to say
Yeah.
like that color because I don't like to call people colors. But
Yeah.
what I was
No,
saying
like,
is like that, like
a fleshy,
a fleshy pink, like because it was like we had already gotten the hot pink, and then they're like, "There's another pink you guys can use, and it's a special pink that only teams that have been here for 5 years can wear."
Like, it's some prize.
Like it's some prize, and then they hand it to us. It's just like,
Instead, it's a punishment.
Yeah.
Instead, you've been here for so long, we're punishing you.
"We're
Go
punishing
away.
you." Like, please choose another sport. Because it
Yeah.
really is. They're like, what is this weird flesh pink? And like,
Yeah.
I'm one of the few African American gentlemen on this team. So like, it's not that it looks bad on me, but like everybody else hated it. They're like,
Yeah.
it looks like I'm shirtless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see people out wearing like tan leggings, and I'm like, are you wearing pants? Or, you know? And I'm like, that's weird. Yeah, I get it. It's just a weird color to wear as a cloth over
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we actually might have to do the flesh pink instead because at least neon green has a use.
Yeah, and I think everyone kind of agrees with you on the flesh pink.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, great.
No.
that's funny.
That was fun.
A lot of joy in that joy corner.
Yeah. Sort of. We talked about things we didn't like, but joyfully. Yeah.
Joyful dislike things.
So there's no segue to this last. So we have a final question we ask every person that comes on our show, and we've been doing this for now 2 iterations. We did this also on our last podcast.
We did.
And it's open-ended. It can relate to anything we've talked about today, but it can just be whatever you think about it. But it is, what's your hope for the future?
I think that my hope for the future is that we see museums and cultural institutions continue being like beacons of information that like the public trusts. I think that like they're so important, and I think that the more they serve as like parts of the community, the more people will use them as parts of that community. So I really hope we see just more of that, and people wanting to learn more, and people wanting to do that.
Oh, I suppose my hope for the future is it's a goal for myself to, and then others, to be kind and patient when I don't feel like being kind and patient to people, and to spread kindness in acts like little and big, right? And hoping that creates a momentum. I think mostly I hope for the future is that we find common ground with each other and respect for each other, even when it feels impossible, so that we can hopefully move forward together, I guess. That's my goal. In communities and at large, too, right? So, yeah, that's my hope.
Beautiful. Both of you.
Yeah.
Make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And that's what we hopefully are trying to do here. We want to thank you both for coming. Again, it's been our first collab,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks for making it happen.
that was amazing.
Yeah, we had a
Well,
great
thank
time.
you for having us. Yeah.
Thanks.
So I guess my final question is, where can people listen to your guys' podcast?
Sure. So you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere you guys can find podcasts, we are there.
Yep. We're bi-weekly, so
Yep.
every other week, something new.
Yep, and that's Unbound, a collection of Indiana stories.
Yeah, and you can also find it on IHS website. That's how I find it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Also there too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
incredible.
Okay, great. Thank y'all so much for coming. That was spectacular from start to finish. So, unfortunately, we have to say goodbye, but be sure to catch us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, the Prairie website, and shout out to AJ and the rest of the marketing team for making that happen.
Yes, and make sure to check out our next episode. It is with a Smithsonian curator from Smithsonian Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage, Michelle Banks, where we kind of pick up some of these threads and talk about storytelling today and how that is going to hopefully inspire the future.
And inspire the future we hope to still do. But that's all for us. Until next time.